Last time out on the F122 game made me rather angry. I've had my ERS on over the f***ing formation lap. Are you serious? Oh my god. Why am I so slow? Why am I so slow in the straight? What the f***? Oh, I've left my f***ing ERS on. I'm on 6%. Oh, for f***'s sake. Turn the f***ing corner. Oh, what the f***? Luckily for me, round 2 takes the new Porsche Formula 1 team to the human rights capital of the world, or the Jeddah circuit in Saudi Arabia. The track was added late on in F1 2021, and since then I've been doing my utmost to avoid racing on it whenever possible, which will become rather evident later on. Having made some setup changes following the last episode in Bahrain, I was led into one of the new features for the F1 22 game, as someone on crack saw my performance in round 1 and thought, hey, I can trust you with a supercar prior to the weekend. Repaying their kindness with an expensive wall riding tutorial, I managed to pass the average speed challenge, which I imagine is a good thing. And finally, since I had some spare money in the bank, I invested some of it into my pit crew, so with any luck they'll find a replacement for the head in the last video. Anyway, now on to the actual race weekend itself, and as a disclaimer here, my mic decided to kill itself prior to the recording, so you'll just have to put up with post-commentary will for this one. But skipping practice as usual, I thought I'd get my sights in by driving out of the pit garage, which went really well as I never realised the game had given me control. One flashback later and I felt ready to give a quali lap a go, which went as expected, to be honest. On the bright side, there's this beautiful feature called relaxed corner cutting rules, which allow me to make up my own track and still top the timing screens in Q1. By the time Q2 had rolled around, I thought I would try a little bit harder to keep the car within the white lines, and to my surprise, I was getting better. Bar this bit. Putting one semi-decent lap in, I decided just to retire early and place my fate in the hands of the EA gods, and their divine intervention saw both me and Mark Webber get into the top 10 for the second Q3 session of the year. It really is amazing what turning down the AI difficulty does, isn't it? Thing was, my joy would be short-lived, as instead of Q3, I was then taken back to the acclaim screen, where apparently my good performance hadn't gone down very well with F1 Twitter. Confused, I tried to get back to Q3, but instead I was taken to the race, where I'd been placed at the back of the f***ing field. Yeah, maybe for the sake of my career, it's a good thing that my audio failed here. Starting at the back hadn't gone necessarily well last time, but with a bit more confidence in my abilities, there was every chance I could turn this back around. And as the lights went out, my start wasn't bad at all, and my full send tactic from Bahrain worked again as I threw it up the inside of several cars into turn 1.
Okay, the start was fine. Let's try and move forward.
Bro, I've nearly halved my grid position. What more exactly do you want? Anyway, with my sights set on the cars ahead, my first target was the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda.
Are you alright?
Anyway, with my sights set on the cars ahead, my first target was the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, but this was halted when Norris forgot what brakes were and careered into the side of my teammate, bringing out the virtual safety car, and honestly, what a f***ing idiot. I mean, who would do something like that? The VSC ended and I got a great run off.
Are you okay?
The VSC ended and I got a great run off the final corner, allowing me to make a double overtake on Yuki and Webber for P12 in a move that wasn't aided by flashbacks whatsoever. Gasly and Ocon were the next cars ahead, as Bottas brought himself into the fray when he tried my wall riding tutorial from earlier. He pitted as I used DRS to take the Alpine of Ocon down into turn 1. And then his best friend Gasly was dispatched not soon after. Fernando Alonso was then passed at the end of lap 4, as the leaders began to come in and pit for fresh rubber. This left myself and Magnussen squabbling for 4th, and a godly overtake, for my standards anyway, into turn 21 moved me up another spot. It was then my turn to pit, and having f***ed the turn in for a second weekend in a row, I exited the pits inside the Haas of Magnussen. But hey, could always have been his predecessor. My slow stop had also dropped me behind Webber and Alonso again, but one lap later I was able to take my teammate around the outside of the first corner, and K-Mag fell for the turn 21 move again later in the lap. This put me on the fringes of points, which given what happened in Bahrain is nothing short of a miracle. And when the median runners came in, I found myself scrapping with Nando for 7th place. The AI's racecraft has been improved on this year's game, and that is so well displayed in our battle over the last few laps, as I tried again and again to get past the Alpine, with Alonso cutting back and regaining the position. As mad as this obviously made me, it's a really good improvement, so for the first time in this series, here's a non-sarcastic well done to the developers. This was sick. As we entered the penultimate lap, I was able to get a good enough run out of the final corner to get the position. But the Alpine was by no means finished, surprising me with a ballsy move up the inside onto the final lap that I only just managed to defend from. But with some defensive driving, ERS management, and only a few track limits violations, I was able to cross the line for P7 and my first points finish of F1 22. God, after round 1, that does feel good. Webber would come home 9th to make it a double point score for Porsche. While up at the front, Carlos Sainz benefited from a lack of gravel traps around Jeddah to take his first win of the season and shoot up to the top of the championship standings. Round 2 then, I've got to say, was a success, and I'm thinking I may want to inch the difficulty up slowly from this point, but we'll play that by ear over the course of the season. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'd just like to take the time now to thank you all for your support in the first episode of the series, and if you want to see more, keep letting me know by smashing that like button and sharing this video about with your friends. All that really helps me out. And a huge thank you as always to my patrons for supporting the work I do. If you want to help out in that regard, the link to my Patreon and all my other social media accounts can be found down in the description below. Still trying to aim for that 2,000 followers on Twitter, and we got a lot close to that yesterday, so thanks again for that as well. But that's all from me for now. I'll see you next time for Australia, but until then, have a good one.